Hello everybody, Eternal Flame here, and today we are here to do a debate between Naruto in Part 1 and Yuji Itadori. Well, not Naruto Part 1, but more so Sasuke versus Yuji, where we're going to place Yuji in the direct spot of Naruto in the final valley in Part 1 and see if Yuji can end up dragging Sasuke back to the village or not. And I'm not here alone today. I have someone else with me here to help cover the Naruto sides of things. The legendary Thunder God himself.
What's going on, guys? TG or Thunder God here. Thank you for having me on the channel.
No problem. Anyways, yeah, we're going to cover their stats, their abilities, and how the fight would just overall go. And yeah, let's get into this. First, we're going to cover Yuji's abilities, and then we're going to go into Sasuke. So, I'll cover Yuji. Alright, so to go over Yuji's attack potency, there is a lot of ways you can scale him, but most of his scaling is most consistently around either the town level or multi-city block level, where you can upscale him off of those feats. Such as a character known as Chojuro, who Chojuro has his stone hand feat, which his stone hand feat that he used against Maki directly, which has been calced out to be multi-city block level in terms of attack potency, as well as the energy needed to create it. However, Maki massively outscales it, and Yuji has shown direct relativity to this Maki in the past, as well as Mahito destroying a subway in the direct fight against Yuji to begin with. And we all know Mahito and Yuji directly scaled towards each other and have been punching each other and clashing with each other, so they both scale relative to this multi-city block level feat, and then Yuji ends up upscaling from that point on. However, he does have higher end level feats, such as in the Cursed Spirit ranking, he is able to scale to special grade sorcerers directly, where it's directly stated carpeting explosives such as a cluster bomb might work. And this is only talking about like the base level of special grades, as in finger bearers, something Megami scales to, where Yuji's been shown the ability to directly damage people like Hanami and Mahito in the past, and only has gotten massively more powerful from that point on. And carpeting, and most of the time cluster bombs end up being around town level, and Yuji just massively upscales from that point on. So he very much easily has attack potency in the town level, and he's very much able to also amplify his abilities with the Divergent Fist and amplify his striking power. But getting into speed for JJK, speed is a lot more of a nightmare to scale than strength is, because attack potency is actually pretty easy to scale. But when it comes to speed, there is a lot of calcs that end up putting it in the massively hypersonic, with the most famous Maki dodging the bullet calc, or Nanami dodging Mahito's attacks, or you were able to even get them even faster in terms of reaction speed if you take the Hakari dodging and actually reacting to Kashimo's lightning, something that Yuji should very much scale to at this current point in time, based on his current feats in the manga, as well as being able to react to the Gojo versus Sukuna fight. So he should very well be in this massive hypersonic lightning level speeds. However, Yuji now has an actual hacks that he has recently shown off in the battle as well, which is the ability to use reverse curse technique. Through reverse curse technique, he is able to heal parts of his body to extreme extents, even able to heal things like holes in his stomachs and attacks directly caused from Sukuna if cleaved dismantle, even able to heal his stomach that was cut right open. So yeah, Yuji now has a healing factor on top of that, which will make putting him down much harder than it already was, considering Yuji's massive pain tolerance, considering Yuji can fight onwards despite being cut from several sides by Sukuna's cleaves directly. However, now we're going to get into how Sasuke directly compares.
So starting off with AP, Sasuke would definitely scale in a similar range to the city block level to town level range pretty confidently. There's a couple different ways you can go about this. For calcs, if you want to go up the calculation route, he does scale up the city block level feat with him actually vaporizing the ground with his fireball, or you can actually look at him just like bodying a multi-ton like level bear in the Forest of Death, which has also been calced to city block level. So he does have like these sort of feats like earlier in the series. This also isn't accounting for any strength increases, like him getting stronger using like Lee's taijutsu as a benchmark and just growing strat wise. On top of this, you know, he does have higher ends if you want to look at like the town level feat of Naruto just beating down a giant snake in the Forest of Death. These upper ends do exist. There's also a similar range to where the Sound Ninja are, who Sasuke directly scales to or above at this range. You could also look at Jirobo throwing a giant boulder, which has also been calculated to town level. So again, right, this isn't accounting for any multipliers or anything like that, or any strength increases. But again, Sasuke would just scale to this over time. This isn't accounting for any speed imps like the Chidori, or any stat boosters like the Curse Mark or Sharingan. So Sasuke would just scale confidently to this range in AP. And if anything, you can maybe make a case with Chidori, he would just scale blatantly higher, and that this would just be in reference to his punches, kicks, and maybe like fireball jutsu. And next up, we're going to get into speed. Sasuke would also scale into that massively hypersonic range. You could definitely see this off a couple different feats in the series. There's a couple different ways you can go about this. You can look at the calcs done for Gaara's automatic sand defense, reacting point blank to an explosion. This has been calced numerous times, ranging from Mach 25 to even Mach 50. There's also like different calcs, but the common range is that it's just between this range. And again, right, this is like not accounting for like characters like Sasuke or Lee who could blatantly blitz and outpace this type of sand defense, along with the fact that Gaara may have gotten stronger, along with the multipliers in place. There's even higher ends if you want to look at Kimimara's like lightning speed arrow. This being a fatigued version of Kimimaro as well, who Sasuke should scale to. The Sound 4 also blatantly state that Sasuke would gain power on par with their own. So even if you argue that the Sound 4 are like fatigued in their fights, Sasuke should scale relative to on par with this level of speed in this series. So again, massively hypersonic. It's that lightning tier. Sasuke should just scale in that range. Whether you think higher or lower, doesn't really matter. It's just a very fair assessment of Sasuke in this point in the series.
Yeah. So now with their stats out of the way, now we're going to get into how this would actually go as a fight. Because we are going to have 3 different types of Sasukes, mainly because Yuji doesn't actually get any transformations in JJK. And we're going to compare how those types of Sasukes would directly do against Yuji, and see how it would go. So up first, we have a base form Sasuke in the Final Valley, fighting directly against Yuji, with just their standard abilities. So Sasuke doesn't have the Sharingan. And how do you think that will go, Thunder God?
I think this is definitely Yuji's best form again, or one of the best chances he has to gain momentum in this fight. Because Sasuke, he has his basic arsenal here, nothing really crazy, fire style like shuriken, wires, along with like the enhanced physicality that was pretty much allowing him to overwhelm base Naruto, who was previously stronger than him. Here, really, you have to look at it. He's not really just going to beat up Yuji, especially with Yuji having RCT at this point in the series. Like, it's kind of unlikely he just beat him up to the point of just taking him down, especially if their AP's in a similar range here. This also is a big potential for Yuji to actually just start, like, getting the Black Flash off and just build momentum throughout this fight to reach that 120% of his potential. So there definitely is a lot of possibility here, and this is definitely one of Yuji's better forms of Sasuke, just because Sasuke's not going to have that insane precog. This is definitely Yuji's best chance to throw hands with him and actually gain some momentum.
100%. Like, this is going to be by far Yuji's best and only chance, because they do have comparable levels of taijutsu skill in my opinion, but more importantly, Yuji is the type to just fully take advantage of the moment, and he's just going to straight up be beating into Sasuke in that moment to keep getting stronger and stronger. Furthermore, if Yuji lands a Black Flash, he'll be able to operate at 120% of his potential, like Thunder God said, so that will amp him up even more in comparison to how relative they're already showing themselves to be. And especially if Sasuke starts to taunt him and gets overconfident, that will allow him to get a Rage Amp too, which is very in character for both of them, because Sasuke is very, very confident, right?
Yeah, he actually, like, might even, he has really no problems with at this point in the series, especially with how he was flexing on Naruto. So Sasuke in character is the type to actually, like, want to see what his opponents can do and stuff like that. I don't know if he would necessarily, like, let Yuji just slap him in the face, but this is definitely the type of situation where Yuji can catch Sasuke by surprise and actually land that Black Flash if it happens.
100%. And it's not like range is going to be an issue either, since Sasuke does have range. Here's the thing though, right? Yuji can imbue his cursed energy into objects as well and use them as projectiles. He does this in a fight against Helicopter Man in the Culling games. And when he does this, right, he can, like, use this as an actual weapon and projectile. So straight up, if he breaks the ground, he can pick up a rock and just throw it at Sasuke with cursed energy infused into it. And it's going to hurt. And this is very in character for Yuji to do as well. So Yuji definitely has a lot of advantages in this form, but it's still pretty close, but I'm currently leaning closer to Yuji, and I think Thunder God is too.
Yeah.
So up next, we're going to move up to Sasuke with the Sharingan, and this is much more in Sasuke's favor purely because of how the Sharingan functions, because the Sharingan gives Sasuke access to precognition, which is the absolute worst counter to the Black Flash. Like, it's very possible that every time Sasuke is about to see Yuji land a Black Flash, he purposefully moves out the way and not allows Yuji to land it just to make sure it doesn't hit him, because of the Black Flash and how powerful that actually is.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous what the Sharingan would do. Just allow Sasuke to see Yuji's next movements pretty vividly off, like, his physical movements. And for those who maybe doubt this, even if Yuji does land a Black Flash and does like power up or gain more of his potential, Sasuke's 3 Tomoe Sharingan blatantly allowed him to overcome a stat difference between him and QB Naruto. On top of the Sharingan being an amp, it's stated to increase like your combat ability in all aspects. He goes from getting dominated by QB Naruto with this 2 Tomoe to 3 Tomoe, like he's having no problems. He's just handing him the business. So it actually would make quite a considerable difference at this point, and it just would allow him to be much more dominant in terms of hand-to-hand, especially since even if his opponent is like slightly stronger or does have a bit of a stat edge, he could just compensate for that. So that really wouldn't make too much of a difference at that point. And we were talking about this too. You can even make a case he might actually be able to see the divergent fist, because we were doing like reverse equalization. So that would just kind of lend the Sharingan like fundamentally operating similar to maybe something like the 6 Eyes, or maybe not exactly the same, but just similar to like those perception abilities.
100%. So Sasuke just has a lot of advantages. Now, while it is possible for Yuji to grow in power as the battle does continue, because Yuji is very, very proficient at actually turning his negative emotions into cursed energy in order to amplify himself more and more, we just don't think it will be enough initially. However, in the later stage of the battle, it could be enough, but that is where we're going to get into the next stage of the fight. However, before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the RCT versus the Chidori, because there are likely going to be some people who think the Chidori is just wraps and game over for Yuji. However, I don't think that is the case, and the reason why I don't think that is the case is because Yuji has shown the ability to straight up heal his stomach. It's actually really, really impressive.
Yeah, he like has like an entire hole on his side. It's actually like way bigger than like the hole Sasuke punctured in him, and he just regens it entirely. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it's pretty insane what he actually comes back from.
Yeah, it's 100%. Like, RCT is just absolutely nuts in the verse, so it's probably going to have to result in Sasuke needing to take his head, and if Sasuke does go for a similar moment where he tries to RCT, where he tries to Chidori him through the chest, what I see being very likely is just Yuji healing it off and just landing a Black Flash in that moment on Sasuke directly.
Yeah, it would be pretty bad. And I will say too, like this is definitely problematic. Probably the best way for Sasuke to win with Chidori is to just decapitate Yuji with it, like slicing through his head with the Chidori, like having his palm straight. So that's probably one of the better win cons, because just puncturing him through a lung like he tried with Naruto isn't really gonna amount to much. So this type of scenario I definitely think happens once, more so than like a repeating thing, because Sasuke would know that Yuji does have this healing factor, and he's like, all right, I'm going to just take off your head now. So that's probably the biggest thing. But again, right, this is definitely one of the biggest ways for Yuji to kind of get like that counter Black Flash maneuver.
Yeah. And this is where we'd likely move into the next stage of the fight, where we're going to get Yuji, current Shinjuku Yuji, amped by the Black Flash and post using the Black Flash. So he's now operating at 120% of his potential, fighting against Curse Mark Stage 2 Sasuke. And this is one of the much more interesting fights, because they're both now in their massively amped states, where one's just in the zone, likely to land more and more Black Flashes, being Yuji, which is going to make him more and more powerful as they continue, while Sasuke gets a massive amp, which I'm going to let you get into, TG.
Yeah, so the thing about the Curse Mark, a lot of people say it's a 10 times multiplier. In Naruto, there's ever rarely multipliers. A lot of things are more so amps, and the Curse Mark is one of them. If you're looking at like the profile for the Curse Mark, whether it be the anime profiles, the series, or the data book, it's just noted to increase your chakra by 10 times. And the Sound Force specifically, like their data books mention how their abilities are specifically getting amped along with their chakra supplies. I'm not saying there isn't a stat increase. I'm just saying it's not like the Kaioken where he gets 10 times, like everything's 10 times. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's more so, okay, there's an amp. Your stats increase a decent bit. You have way more chakra, and certain abilities get amped. So if you were going to go for some kind of multiplier, I would say it'd probably be more so like in the 3 to 4 times range. Nowhere near 10 times, since a lot of the Sound 4, and for some perspective, they go into Curse Mark Stage 2, and they're still not like perception blitzing opponents they're fighting before. So it could be an increase, just not one that puts them like a whole tier above the person they're fighting, or like via speed, of course. So but via this logic though, this would definitely be a bigger amp than Black Flash amped Yuji for sure, because it would just offer more of an increase. And again, you could look at Sasuke just matching and overwhelming, or just doing a lot better against like the cloak version of Naruto, compared to before where like dodging was all he could do, and even then he was failing. You know what I mean? So it would just be pretty ridiculous. He does get all these increases. It would be something else. What's your opinion on this?
Oh, I 100% do agree. While Sasuke would get the stronger amp between the two of them, I do think Yuji kinda also has another advantage, where if he lands another Black Flash, it'll be game over and wraps, because I kinda see this playing out in a similar way that Mahito's true form ended up fighting directly against Yuji Itadori, and how Yuji was like in a massive disadvantage, but like Yuji could still keep up in terms of speed and strength with Mahito. It was just Mahito had the advantage over the two of them and was stronger. However, if Yuji can land another Black Flash on him, it's kind of game over because of how massive of an amp the Black Flash actually gives, which a lot of people do take Gege's words literally of the Black Flash being an exponential amp of 2.5. I don't take that too seriously because of how inconsistent that makes a lot of JJK and how durability just becomes super, super weird because there are like characters who can tank Black Flashes but at the same time get hurt by normal punches from the same character who just used the Black Flash, Hanami. So it just makes it overall super weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably the best example. And I would say like for an interesting perspective too, that like Sasuke, because I mentioned certain characters getting their abilities amplified. I would say for Sasuke specifically, you could just make a case like Chidori would be the biggest thing that's amplified, which would like further go into what we were discussing with like him actually gaining like the Onyx Chidori. So if you're gonna argue, like I think Sasuke's like AP would get a massive boost here, and then like he would just use like this enhanced speed to try and like do what we were discussing before as well. So it just kind of goes both ways in this situation. Something interesting as well we could talk about is like what if Sasuke like blocks one of the Black Flashes with his wing, like when Naruto like goes at him and he like uses his wings defensively, like that's also something that's interesting because his wings actually are pretty durable. Not a lot of people bring them up. They actually are pretty durable.
100%. Though I don't think that would be the best move for Sasuke because that would do a lot of damage to those wings considering how powerful the Black Flash actually is. But yeah. Like it'd just be super interesting to see this as an actual fight play out. But the way I can see it playing out is one of two ways. Either A, Sasuke finishes him in the early game, or B, Yuji keeps landing Black Flashes and getting stronger and stronger as they continue, overcoming the distance in a similar way of what he did with Mahito, where he slowly overcame the distance and managed to catch up to him in the fight.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Yuji's best win con is definitely to like get that Black Flash potential, build the momentum over and over repeatedly beating down Sasuke, because Sasuke at this point, he could take a lot of punishment for sure if you look at his fight versus Naruto. His physicality is actually pretty insane at this point, but he obviously doesn't have a healing factor, so that can only go so far. And the fact that he can fight in Curse Mark Stage 2 for a limited time kind of adds to this. So yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's like one of those like kind of how the fight starts out really dictates how it ends.
Yeah, 100%. And, like, I can also see it being very likely Yuji just is very good at making sure Sasuke can't reach his head, because it's not like the speed difference between them is going to be that massive now, even though Sasuke's in the curse mark. So Yuji just knows if he can keep RCTing himself, he'll also eventually win a game of stamina. So, between the three of base Sasuke versus Yuji, I think we're both leaning closer to Yuji winning that more often than base Sasuke, right?
Yeah.
But then we get to Sasuke with the Sharingan. Sasuke is more likely to win that one thanks to the precognition.
Yep.
And then finally with Curse Mark Stage 1 and 2, we can see it going either way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So overall, it's a really interesting fight, and it's surprisingly much closer than a lot of people think it would be. But I also find it kind of funny that it takes a 12-year-old Sasuke to be a good match for a Yuji currently near the end of the series. Because, like, if we put Sasuke and Shippuden against Yuji at any point, like, even early Sasuke, like...
Oh, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's no diff. Bad. Like, oh boy.
Negative difficulty. Yeah, it would be. This is... there's so much more, like, arsenal he gains. It's just insane. So, yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, so... Yeah. But overall, like, this is a really fun matchup to talk about. A lot more fun than I thought it was going to be initially, I'll be honest. But, yeah. So, massive shout out to TG for coming on. I hope you all enjoy. And remember to check him out.